Hello everyone and welcome to the show. I'm Mike. I'm Mike. Rainbow. 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 Rainbow? It's cold.
What?
This is cold. It's a statue.
Huh?
It's not real. This is cold. It's stone. It's like marble or something. Wow. That's crazy. Our article's all about statues, and Rainbow seems to have been replaced with a statue. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to go figure out where the statue came from, who made it, and where the heck is Rainbow? But when we come back, we're gonna be talking more about statues, and maybe I'll be hosting with the statue.
What?
You'll have to see. We'll see you soon, though. That's so weird. If you've ever seen pictures of Greek statues, you might have noticed something about them. Many of these marble statues on display in museums have lost a nose, an arm, or some other body part to the passage of time. But there's another thing that time has taken away: the colors that were painted on the statue's surfaces.
I'm back.
She's here! Or else the statue has come to
The
life.
statue is real.
Who did that? That was incredible. Was that like an artist friend of yours or something?
Yeah, that was really cool.
That was cool. Also very heavy. You're much heavier when you're made of marble.
Yes.
Than when you're
and much colder.
And much colder. And probably, well, I don't know. But definitely not something you'd want to get mistaken of very often. Anyways, let's talk about statues, and specifically a really, really good question that's right there in our title. This is one of those things that you just think is true, and then you start to think about it, and you go, yeah, why are ancient Greek statues white?
Yeah, the color's always white.
They're
Maybe
always
it was
white.
the marble or something.
Well, sure. I mean, all those statues, even the buildings that when we think of those ancient Greek
Greeks.
temples, they're all kind of white, right? The color of the stone. That's just the way they are. So what we're talking about here are statues. Now, we had a statue sitting next to me earlier, and if you go to a museum or if you go to an important building, maybe a big government building, you might see statues all over the place. What is a statue? It's basically a 3D artistic work, and generally it's of a person of some kind. You could have a king sitting on a horse, you could have a queen standing there with a crown, you could have the famous thinker statue, or other things like that. And they're often made out of wood or stone or metal, but generally stone, right? They'll cut them and carve them. Of course, David, Michelangelo's famous one of that young man,
naked,
very healthy looking young man. That's a very famous statue. So that's what we think of either as art or also as a monument to honor a famous person. For example, the angry crowd tore down the statues of 2 former presidents. Okay. So sometimes statues of famous people from long ago are not popular many, many years later. But let's talk about Greek statues, many of which we see in art museums all over the world. Why are they all white?
If you've ever seen pictures of Greek statues, you might have noticed something about them. Many of these marble statues on display in museums have lost a nose, an arm, or some other body part to the passage of time.
Absolutely. They have lost different body parts to the passage of time. The Venus de Milo, right? That beautiful woman. She has no arms, right? Her arms fell off at some time. Now, a lot of those old Greek and Roman as well statues, they are made of marble. Now, what is marble? It's a type of stone.
White color usually. usually. Sometimes not white.
Yeah, it has a few different colors in there. A lot of marble actually comes from the Hualien area. It's very famous for marble. We use it for statues. You might also use it in your kitchen, in your house, to put on the outside of a building. It's kind of a beautiful stone, comes in a few different colors in each piece. And also, it's a softer kind of stone, so cutting it or carving it for the artist is easier than some types that they might use. For example, a set of beautiful marble steps leads to the hotel's finest restaurant. Sure,
wow,
in fancy hotels or apartment buildings, you might also find marble there.
Okay, so passage of time. So when we talk about the passage, it's a fancy noun to explain when time passes by. So when we say the passage of time, it's like years and years, hundreds and hundreds of years have passed. Here's an example sentence. The ship is seeking safe passage through the country's waters. So now it's not time that's passing by, but it's the ship that has to go through the waters to pass through the waters. So sometimes we might use the noun form.
Yeah, when we talk about the passage of something, it's going from one place to another, either moving as a ship does or going along as time does. And kind of a long journey or going for quite a long time. The passage of time over hundreds or thousands of years is what we're talking about here with these statues. But the article says there's another thing that time has taken away. Not just parts of the statues that have broken off or fallen off because of the passage of time. Some other things have also been taken away from these old statues. The colors that were painted on the statue surfaces.
They used to be colored?
All of these white statues that we see today, actually, if we could travel back in time, would probably have been very colorfully painted.
Interesting. I didn't know that. Well, we'll have to take a break and we'll find more about this information. That's so interesting.
Hello， 大家好，我是 Hanny。同学们有没有想过这个问题啊 ？Why are ancient Greek statues white？ 为什么古希腊雕像是白色的呢？不就是石头的颜色吗？可是我们来看看课文怎么说。如果你曾经看过希腊雕像的图片，你可能有注意到，随着时间流逝，博物馆展出的那些大理石雕像，有很多都已经失去鼻子啊、手臂啊，或是其他身体部分。不过其实时间还带走了一样东西，那就是涂在雕像表面的颜色。我们来看单字 statue，statue 就是指雕像、雕塑。那么 marble 它可以指大理石或者是大理石雕像。那么 passage 这个字可以当通道的意思，可是在课文里面它是当不可数名词，用来表达时间的推移流逝。那这边有两个重点，我们进入文法时间。好，我们来看第一个重点是 if 引导条件句的时候，可以用来表达可能发生的情况。那这个条件句呢，如果用现在完成式去搭配 ever， 就表示曾有过的经验。举例来说 ，If you've ever had a sunburn，you know how important it is to wear sunscreen. 如果你曾经晒伤，你就知道擦防晒有多么重要了。第二个重点是 may 或是 might 可以用来表达推测。那么用 may 或是 might 加上 have 加上过去分词 pp 是用来表达对过去事件的推测。我们用 might 它的可能性会比 may 来得低。举例来说 ，Ian was supposed to be here 20 minutes ago.He might have been delayed by traffic. 伊恩原本应该20分钟前就要到这里，他可能因为交通而耽搁了吧。好，接回到课文中。
A lot of people don't know that ancient Greece was actually very colorful. Its buildings were full of brightly colored decorations and statues. But following centuries of weathering and cleaning, most of the paint wore off to reveal the white marble underneath. During the Renaissance, artists tried to recreate these ancient works and copied them exactly, without using any paint. From there, white marble became widely accepted as the proper look for Greek statues. Today, many archaeologists are trying to change people's minds about these classical works. Some have even used modern technology to create copies of Greek statues in their original colors. Seeing these statues in color can bring us a little closer to understanding what the ancient world might have looked like.
So let's find out more about what colors these statues used to be. A lot of people don't know that ancient Greece was actually very colorful. Like me, I thought it was all white. Its buildings were full of brightly colored decorations and statues. I wonder what kind of colors there were.
All sorts of colors. Probably some simpler colors they could get from stone and from natural things. So browns, reds, greens, maybe some yellows would have been in there. And blues and purples, of course, were by far the most expensive colors a long time ago.
Royalty colors,
so
right?
Maybe very specially used, those colors, yeah.
But following centuries of weathering and cleaning, most of the paint wore off to reveal the white marble underneath. Okay, so maybe as time went on, it just kind of fell off.
Right, washed off, worn off over hundreds and hundreds of years, right? The passage of time will damage things when they're left out in nature. So these statues and these buildings that we see today as being very white and very sort of plain were probably colorful long ago. If something is colorful, the adjective just means it's full of colors. There's
Like
a lot
rainbow.
like a rainbow is very colorful. You might wear a colorful dress or shirt during the summertime, you know, has all sorts of colors on it, not just one. We could also talk about wearing bright colors kind of as being colorful, but definitely not sort of a gray or a black. Lots of different colors like a rainbow or like a field of flowers or something like that. For example, my daughter made a colorful painting of a forest in autumn. Oh yeah, an autumn forest with the reds and the oranges and the yellows. All of those colorful things are beautiful to see.
Yes, and as this color wore off over time, it revealed the white marble underneath. So reveal means to show something after it's been hidden for a long time. So if somebody reveals a secret, they finally tell something to the world that nobody knew about. So reveal is like, here it is. It's no longer a secret anymore. A sample sentence for you. The fog lifted to reveal a great view of the ocean. So when there's a lot of fog, it's very hazy. You can't see what's far away, but after the fog is gone, you're looking and you're like, wow, I can see the entire ocean. So it's revealed to your eyes.
That's right. So imagine all these great statues from Rome and Greece that we see in museums, or think of that beautiful temple there in the city of Athens in Greece. It's giant, it's beautiful, but it's all white. And of course, we don't have photographs from thousands of years ago, so we can't really imagine what these things look like. And artists even hundreds of years ago, still a long time from the time of the ancient Greeks, they also had no idea. And we learned during the Renaissance, artists tried to recreate these ancient works and copied them exactly without using any paint. So Michelangelo, Donatello, Raphael, Da Vinci, they looked at these old statues from Greece and Rome and said, oh, we love that style, the way they look so natural. Let's do it just like that. But they forgot and they didn't know about the color that were on those statues, because like us, they just saw old statues that were marble and all white. They didn't know that they were so colorful either.
From there, white marble became widely accepted as the proper look for Greek statues.
That's what they look like.
Everybody thought they're just white, only white all the time. Today, many archaeologists are trying to change people's minds about these classical works. Some have even used modern technology to create copies of Greek statues in their original colors. So I guess you could go to the museum and maybe you would see a newly pictured version of it. Maybe it would be red or brown. I can't even imagine.
Exactly. They did tests. They would find little bits of chemicals on the statues, and by taking those and analyzing them, they'd say, hey, this was paint. So they suddenly discovered these statues were colorful. They were covered in paint. Seeing these statues in color can bring us a little closer to understanding what the ancient world might have looked like. And it wasn't bright white with just plain marble. It was actually very, very colorful.
That's so surprising.
Yeah.
Okay, so for you, Mike, was it surprising to learn that Greek statues were originally colorful, or did you already know that? Why or why not?
Well, when I learned about it years ago, yeah, it was very, very interesting and surprising to me, and I would love to have seen the original colors. I remember going to Greece as a kid. I didn't know this then, and these statues and the temples, they're of course beautiful and something you should definitely check out, but to imagine them as being colorful with all the colors of the rainbow, I mean, it's almost impossible to imagine, but I think it would be even prettier than they look to us today, being all white. So there you go, something to check out. Maybe find a website or a book and they might have an artist's idea of what these ancient statues and temples looked like thousands of years ago. Unless you have a time machine, it's probably the best way to see what the ancient Greeks actually saw. Okay. All right, guys, thanks for joining us. We'll see you back here very soon. Until then, have a colorful world, a colorful day in your colorful life, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
说到古希腊的建筑和雕像，大家会直觉认为它们都是白色的嘛？可是其实古希腊非常缤纷多彩，建筑物里面到处都是色彩鲜艳的装饰品和雕像。那么经过几个世纪的风吹日晒，还有洗涤，大部分的涂料都已经磨损了，然后就露出了下面的白色大理石。现在有些人就使用了现代技术来制作希腊雕像原始颜色的复制品。同学们在网络上也许可以找到一些有颜色的版本哦。补充一下 version 这个字 version version 可以用来表达版本的意思。那课文单字 colorful 那就是 full of color， colorful 就是形容是色彩鲜艳的、缤纷多彩的。reveal 这个动词表示揭露、显露或是透露。例句写到说，雾气这个雾啊散去了之后呢，展露出大海绝佳的景色。Rainbow 老师刚刚在聊到起大雾的时候，他用到 hazy hazy 则是用来形容是不清楚的、模糊不清的。那课文最后写到，看到这些彩色雕像，可以让我们更加了解古代世界看起来的样子。这个段落有3个重点，我们进入文法时间。好，来看第一个重点是，以动名词或是动名词片语来当主词的话，要把它视为第3人称单数名词，后面搭配单数动词。例如 ，Traveling is a good way to broaden your horizons。旅行是拓展视野的一个好方法。那第2个重点是 ，WH 疑问词像是 what、when、why、where、how 等等，它们可以用来引导名词子句，把这个名词子句放在句子里面，可以当主词、受词或者是主词补语用。例如 I don't know who he is， 我不知道他是谁耶。那句子里面这个 who he is 就是名词子句哦，用来当动词 know 的受词。第3个重点是 look 当连缀动词表示看起来，那后面可以接形容词表达看起来怎么样，或是你也可以接 like 加名词来表达看起来像什么。例如 The cloud looks like a shark， 那朵云看起来像鲨鱼，这时候就要唱 Baby Shark， 可以唱吗？我不晓得。好，不管怎么样，以上是今天的讲解，同学别走开，马上回来哦。
If you've ever seen pictures of Greek statues, you might have noticed something about them. Many of these marble statues on display in museums have lost a nose, an arm, or some other body part to the passage of time. But there's another thing that time has taken away: the colors that were painted on the statue's surfaces. A lot of people don't know that ancient Greece was actually very colorful. Its buildings were full of brightly colored decorations and statues. But following centuries of weathering and cleaning, most of the paint wore off to reveal the white marble underneath. During the Renaissance, artists tried to recreate these ancient works and copied them exactly, without using any paint. From there, white marble became widely accepted as the proper look for Greek statues. Today, many archaeologists are trying to change people's minds about these classical works. Some have even used modern technology to create copies of Greek statues in their original colors. Seeing these statues in color can bring us a little closer to understanding what the ancient world might have looked like.
The beauty of our life experiences comes alive at the National Taitung Living Arts Center. Here, the focus is on aesthetics, lifestyle, and the mystical feeling of being connected to our world. The gallery was founded in 1936. The center has been a museum, a library, and a social education center. It has become a historic landmark that is worth visiting, as well as being a place to appreciate the arts. The first floor gallery provides a space for artist exhibitions. The second and third floors contain an auditorium and classrooms. Every Friday and Saturday night, the Living Arts Center hosts a free event called Cultural Broadway. This event allows local performers to show off their talent. Solo musicians, as well as dance troupes and bands have participated in this event. Join us at the center and enjoy the magic of life and art.
See you next time!